Game week 12 is here and we have got an injury crisis. Thankfully, that is what transfers are for in FPL. So let's figure this one out together as we lock in my team for FPL Game week 12. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. First of all, let's look at Game Week 11 as briefly as we possibly can, because I think for myself and maybe a few others, it was a bit of a disaster game week, with really it being the story of underperformance. So many players absolutely dodging points in Game Week 11. We had 2 penalty misses with Haaland and Semenyo. We had Enzo dominating and controlling the entire game, taking so many great shots, having them saved, having those close chances, creating chances for his teammates missing them. It was so tough to watch Enzo play so well and not get rewarded for it. Salah missing some big chances there as well. Mateta arguably so as well. The defence, not great. No clean sheets for Arsenal spells bad news. And with Richards on my bench, that was a bit of a regret. It was a tight decision for me whether I was going to play Richards or Malik Chow. A 5-point swing in the end. But really, it should have been Gabriel that I benched. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. A small red arrow, but not really anything significant there. So I think we can hopefully go into Game Week 12 with a bit more optimism that surely it can't get much worse than Game Week 11. And by the way, guys, if you want some good karma going into Game Week 12, make sure you do drop a like on the video. It really does massively help out the channel. And do feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along with my FPL team every game week. Okay, Game Week 12. Here we go. 2 free transfers. And thank God we have those 2 free transfers, because I think we might need them this week to deal with some injury issues that, of course, we will be talking about in today's video. 0.3 million in the bank, so not too much to play with there. But let's go into the goalkeeper position first of all. We do see David Raya at home against Spurs. We are going to have a look at the clean sheet odds very, very shortly, and you're actually going to see that even though Spurs on paper seems like a pretty rough fixture, I think Spurs actually have struggled a little bit in recent weeks, maybe even recent months. And Arsenal are just the best defence in the Premier League. No doubt about that. So a home game against Spurs for Arsenal is, just as good as, Man City facing, Burnley at home, really. It's kind of very similar. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying? Any fixture is a good fixture at home for Arsenal, with maybe the exception of maybe some teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, who are, really, really top attacks so far this FPL season. Let's go into the defence. We've got Gabriel, Senesi and Richards. I want to talk about Gabriel first of all, because we have got a bit of an update on this one that I will share with you. So this is coming from ESPN. Apparently sources close to ESPN have revealed that Gabriel is going to be out for a minimum of 1 month. And that actually would mean that he is going to be out until game week 17 at the absolute earliest. So we are looking at a minimum of 6 game weeks out for Gabriel. So no matter how much money you have invested in Gabriel right now, it is going to be very, very tough to keep him benched for that long, given he is so expensive and is taking up a valuable defender slot, which I can't believe we're saying defender slots are valuable, but this is the game we play in FPL right now. So if rumours are to be believed, and, these rumours are really, really building right now, nothing official has come out from the club. We'll get that news tomorrow, but we are seeing more and more very reputable sources stating Gabriel is out for a minimum of 1 month, with that injury issue, that thigh issue that he has picked up. So he is going to be a player that needs to be sold at this point, no matter who you are, unless you can cover him for this week. He may even be worth taking a -4 to remove him. Even if you're free hitting in game week 13, it still seems like Gabriel just needs to be sold, potentially even for a hit, if you cannot effectively cover him, because he's going to have to go eventually regardless. You're not going to hold him for 6, 7, 8 game weeks. It's just not going to happen. Senesi is the next defender here. Before we are going to replace Gabriel later, by the way. We'll come to that when we come to the transfers part of the video. We've got Senesi here as well at home against West Ham. This is a nice fixture. This is a comfortable fixture. We know that Senesi is great for defensive contributions. Still the #1 player in the league among defenders with regards to those defensive contributions. So that's going to be very nice indeed for him. And we do have Richards as well. Wolves away, a nice fixture indeed. Wolves really, really struggling to get those goals. And Crystal Palace actually really improving defensively. Richards, another defensive contribution beast. He is one of the top defenders on this metric. So really looking forward to seeing what he can produce in this game week. Let's have a quick look at the clean sheet odds here, guys. So we mentioned Arsenal before. No matter who they play, they're always going to have a good chance of a clean sheet. They are number one this week, according to Rob T's calculations here. 46% chance of a clean sheet, according to the market odds. That is higher than Chelsea playing against Burnley. So yeah, it goes to show that even another strong-ish team playing against Burnley is actually a worse clean sheet opportunity than Arsenal on any given day. Now, with Gabriel's injury, I expect those odds to change a little bit. We might see this drop a couple of percentage points. Maybe we'll be down to 43%, but Arsenal have that squad depth where they're always going to have an opportunity for a clean sheet. So whether you're on Raya or Timber or whoever else, these are still really good picks for this game week. No worries about that. Definitely wouldn't be benching them against Spurs. Looking at some of my other defenders here, we have actually got Richards at Crystal Palace with a 35% chance of a clean sheet. Very nice indeed. And Bournemouth against West Ham, 34% chance of a clean sheet there as well. So two real nice opportunities. I think generally speaking, we're always looking for 30% plus for a decent chance of a clean sheet. Last week, there was not many teams above 30% chance of a clean sheet. We weren't expecting last week to be a very high-scoring game week, and once again, we were correct in those assumptions. The data really does work, guys. But this week, a different story. We've got plenty of opportunities for clean sheets if you have any players from any of these teams. You add that 30% to the defensive contributions that players like Senesi and Richards are more than capable of, and suddenly things look very, very nice indeed. So on my bench, by the way, guys, I do also have Alderete as a kind of a backup player for now. I could technically use him to cover Gabriel, but I have the free transfers. I may as well replace Gabriel this week. But Sunderland have a 26% chance of a clean sheet. And by the way, Alderete, he is back. He is available. He has been playing for Paraguay over the international break. So he's going to be available. He is going to be match fit. Finally, and we know that actually he's been a bit of a DEFCON monster himself this season, actually overtaking Mukiele for defensive contributions per 90 over the last few weeks where he hasn't been playing because Mukiele not really getting so many defensive contributions since a change of formation for Sunderland. So actually, Alderete, not bad cover. We've got Malik Chow here, not planning on playing him this week. He did get DEFCON last week, which I was kind of hoping that we might see a bit of that on. Even though Newcastle play at home, they have pretty low clean sheet odds. They are down at 19% against Man City. So one of the lower end of this game week for clean sheet odds. So these kind of guys are going to remain on my bench for this game week. No real need to change anything there. To be honest, guys, I think we are pretty settled with Senesi and Richard as our defenders this week, and whoever I bring in to replace Gabriel, and those will be the three defenders. Alderete can be adequate cover, but I think because we are seeing him at 26% clean sheet odds because of the Fulham away fixture, he is slightly less tempting to play than maybe some of my attacking players. So speaking of whom, let's go into the attacking players next. We've got Saka, Bruno, Semenyo, Enzo, Salah as the five-man midfield. Saka still doing very well, whether that be for Arsenal, as we saw last game week, or for England indeed as well, where he did score over the international break. Bruno continues to be very consistent, got another assist last game week. He seems every week, whether it's an assist, a corner that he's taken, a penalty, or just DEFCON points, well, he's always seems to find a way to points, which is really, really useful. And even though at 8.9 million, he's probably not amazing value for money, and he's certainly not that exciting in most game weeks, what he is super reliable. And with so many players failing to perform on any given game week, Bruno is a little bit of a player that you can have confidence in each week. And the fixtures for him coming up, really quite nice, actually. Everton, and then particularly in game week 14 and 15, West Ham and Wolves, really nice indeed there. So looking forward to see what he can produce, particularly in that West Ham at home game. I think that does favour central midfielders. So we could see some good stuff from Bruno in that game. We'll talk about Salah next. He's kind of a no-brainer pick for this week against Wolves. We know Wolves have been really, really pretty poor this season, to be honest. I think Salah has been unfortunate not to get more FPL points recently. He's not the only one in my team that I feel has been unfortunate, but Salah is definitely in that category. And then we come to Semenyo and Enzo. And this is some other problem areas in my team. So no official confirmation about injuries for these guys. We are going to see press conferences very soon. So hopefully we'll get some updates here. But here is my opinion based on what we currently know. So for Semenyo, first of all, well, I think his injury, which he did pick up, and it was reported by the Ghanaian FA, that he had picked up an injury, or at least aggravated an injury over international break. Well, it turns out he flew home back to Bournemouth and proposed to his, well, now fiancée. So it would seem that Semenyo, maybe this was an elaborate ruse to be sent home from international duty because, oh, my leg's hurting a little bit. Well, it didn't hurt too much when you went down on one knee and proposed to your girlfriend, did it, Mr. Semenyo? So I think actually Semenyo is going to be fine, which is great because West Ham at home is a really nice fixture for this Bournemouth side. So feeling optimistic about this one, but of course we'll wait for more news and we'll cover that in tomorrow's video. Then we've got Enzo Fernandez, which I think I'm a little bit more worried about because he didn't go on international duty. The last we heard, he was kind of complaining of kind of this flare up of an old injury. Is that going to be something that is continuing into the new game week after the international break? Well, you do have to wonder. Chelsea, you know, they have European competition. They have Arsenal in game week 13. Is Enzo going to be risked for the Burnley game if he's not 100% fit? And if he is starting against Burnley, how many minutes are we realistically expecting from him if he's not, again, not 100% fit? 60, 70 minutes? Is that going to be enough to do the damage against Burnley? A lot of you guys might say, yeah, maybe. Palmer's going to be back very soon as well. So I think in the very near future, arguably this week, Enzo could be sold, and I wouldn't be totally against selling Enzo this week. I'm actually looking for a replacement for Enzo, but struggling a little bit to find a player that I really like the look of, who is affordable for me. So that is definitely a question mark over Enzo right now, and something I do need to think about. I am going to wait again for press conferences for tomorrow, and we're going to make some final decisions on this bad boy. But right now, I'm a little concerned about Enzo, but at the very least, I know that if he is unavailable, or, you know, if just one of Semenyo or Enzo is unavailable, I do have Alderete on the bench to cover these players. And I think it would be very unlucky if both of these players missed out and I had to rely on Malik Chow against Man City, because that's something I don't really want to do. But regardless, guys, we're going to move into the forward position. Haaland faces a tough test away against Newcastle. That has been one of the toughest, games a forward can face this season. In all competitions, Newcastle are keeping clean sheet after clean sheet when they play at their home ground. So it is going to be a little bit of a difficult one for Haaland to get one of those mega scores. You know, his brace that he seems to get every other game week. This is probably not the week he scores 2 goals. I have no doubt he can score 1 goal, though, given the form that he is in right now. And after game week 12, we got some great opportunities for him. But this week in particular, I think it's genuinely an opportunity to bet against Haaland if you're feeling brave. The crowd, however, will be going for Haaland because they won't really see the Newcastle home versus away form. They'll see Newcastle conceding a few goals recently, particularly when Newcastle have been playing away from home, and assume that Newcastle are bad all of the time, which I don't think is quite true. But we'll have to see what happens there. But I do think it is a good opportunity if you do want to go a bit different. Our other forward is Mateta, and what can we say about Mateta? Brilliant underlying numbers, only really second to Haaland. And you know what? We'll throw on the underlying numbers for all of my starting attackers here. And as you can see, we're going by expected goal involvements this season per 90. So all of these players per 90, how many expected goal involvements we see from each of these guys. Haaland, number 1 at 1.1. Mateta, number 2 at 0.8. And then there's a bit of a gap between him and Enzo and Saka, who are each on 0.6 expected goal involvements per 90. You will see all of my other attackers in the top 20 here as well. Bruno kind of around was at 9th. And then we see Semenyo and Sarr slightly lower on this list. And even though I would prefer to keep players who are data backed in my squad, and Semenyo and Sarr may be dropping down this list a little bit more and more each week, what we do have with both of these players is some fabulous fixtures. You know, Semenyo against West Ham, Sarr against Wolves, and then Burnley in a couple of weeks. And I think that kind of makes up for the fact that maybe they are a little bit lower on this table. But ultimately, and I know it's very difficult to pick who is going to be the random player who might score in any given game week, but I do think over the long term, over a longer period, as long as you are picking those players who are taking shots, who are creating for those teammates, who are heavily involved in the attacking play of their team, then you are going to get attacking returns. And that's really all we can do is FPL Manager. It is essentially a big guessing game, but you can increase your odds by going for players who are regularly involved in what their teams are doing. And what you can see from this table, guys, is that all of my attacking picks certainly fit that category, and not just that category, but they're all nailed on men. Always start when available. And that's going to be crucial when we come up to these these weeks where there's multiple games within one game week. And that's another reason, by the way, why Gabriel is going to be a sell, because he misses 1 month, but there's 6 game weeks in that 1 month. We're going to see the same for every team. So those players who are kind of on the edge, on the peripheries of the starting 11, who are maybe almost nailed on, but not quite, these are the kind of players who will start getting those benches. And I think for a lot of the players on screen for you guys, hopefully you agree, all of these guys are nailed on. And I think going into December, that is going to be crucial to continue to pick players who are nailed on, like those absolute golden diamond players who are just going to play every single game week. So with that said, guys, I think we do need to talk a little bit about transfers here. And as you know, I am going to replace Gabriel. This is the bare minimum in terms of transfers. I'm going to maybe look to replace Enzo, but I'm unconvinced by many options, particularly as I am planning on free hitting in Game Week 13, which I will be covering at some point as well in the next couple of days. But we may have a little look at the end of this video, but we'll look at the free hit draft sort of from Sunday, I think. But yes, going and looking at some defenders, I've kind of got my eye on 4 defenders in particular, and I've got them on screen for you guys here. I've ordered them by expected goal involvements, although as we know with defenders, there is so much more at play here. Defenders are actually the most complicated kind of position to pick these days, because you have to factor in so much: the clean sheet odds, their expected goal involvements, their defensive contributions. But we have Timber, O'Reilly, Virgil, and Saliba, and I think different players kind of stand out in different areas. Certainly Timber and O'Reilly look really good for attacking potential, particularly O'Reilly over the last couple of game weeks. But both Timber and O'Reilly are probably also the most rotation risk players on this list. And actually, is Timber going to get rested in a midweek game coming up? I think there's a possibility for that. Is O'Reilly going to get rotated? Well, of course, Nori between now and AFCON is going to be available. So O'Reilly at left back, is it going to be like Nori at left back? Could we even see, I don't know, Gvardiol, maybe even Rico Lewis play at left back at some point in a midweek game? And that does concern me a little bit. So I think it's a little early to go for O'Reilly. I think once Nori goes to AFCON, I'll be more confident in going for a player like this. Well, you do miss some good fixtures if you do that. We also have Virgil and Saliba. Now, these are your minutes men. We know these guys are going to play 90 minutes every game, even when they have to play twice per week. These centre-backs is just what they do. Centre-backs really, really strong for minutes, really strong for DEFCON as well, typically. Although the same cannot be said for Saliba, which does worry me. So while Saliba, maybe he does, beat Virgil in the clean sheet odds for a lot of game weeks, given that Arsenal are the stronger defence, Virgil is the guy who gets the defensive contributions, and he's way out ahead of all of these guys. Timber, O'Reilly, Saliba, forget about it. Virgil is so far ahead of them when it comes to defensive contributions, and Virgil is one of the top players in the Premier League when it comes to that as well. So you are going to pick up 2 extra points for the defensive contributions probably every other week for Virgil, which is really nice. You are rarely, if ever, going to get them from any of these other guys, and I like that security. We also see Virgil with the best fixtures, so even though he doesn't have as much attacking threat, or at least hasn't shown it this season, because, of course, in previous seasons, as we know, Virgil's had loads of attacking threat, been great from set pieces. He stands out so much in the other categories. I want to show you this, guys, as well. So we've got here in front of us, we've got the predicted points. This is coming in from the Fantasy Football Hub algorithm and predicting the points of all defenders over the next 8 game weeks to give a rough idea on their projections. And Virgil is top here. He is just ahead of Konate here. Who I think Konate and his fitness worries me a little bit more. So I feel more comfortable going for Virgil. Slightly better for DEFCON, slightly better for minutes. So I am someone who does prefer prefer Virgil to Konate, even spending that extra money. That's not to say Konate is a bad pick, though, if you're looking for someone a little bit cheaper. So yeah, Virgil on top. We got Konate second. Timber is in third. We got Nunez in fourth, actually. And then we got Kukurea, followed by Senesi. So interesting picks here, but again, this kind of backs up that maybe Virgil is the best pick. Now, if you guys watched yesterday's 100 Experts video, you will know that there is one player who is massively favoured by the top FPL managers right now. And even though maybe I'm not as much of a top FPL manager, I certainly align with their thinking a lot of the time. So as such, this is going to be my transfer, guys. Gabriel out, Virgil in. I think this is a really straightforward one this week. I'm not going to overthink it. It seems so obvious. So, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead with it. And Virgil over the next 8 game weeks, set and forget, start every week. No worries, no dramas whatsoever. And, yeah, just see what he produces during that period. And then I can maybe think about rotating some of my other defenders in my squad. But it's really nice to replace Gabriel, who you play every week, with another guy who you can just play every week. I'm not expecting Virgil to be a Gabriel. Gabriel was an absolute machine when he was in our FPL teams. But if Virgil can do, 75% of what Gabriel did over the next 8 game weeks, I think I'll be pretty happy with that, to be honest. So that is what my transfer is going to be this week. And then we'll keep an eye on the Enzo situation to see if it's worth making a second move there. Right now, I'm not totally convinced. In terms of captaincy, guys, we are going to be captaining Haaland, probably. The captain's armband for me right now is on Haaland, but I can't lie to you guys, I am super tempted by some of these other players. So my vice captain is on Saka right now, but honestly, it could easily move to Semenyo or Mateta. If Semenyo's cleared fit, Mateta to me looks really nice as well. Even Bruno, I'm a little bit tempted. But there's one thing that's kind of stopping me from doing that. So let's have a look at this, guys. And this is, once again, we're looking at Rob T's projections. And I want to look at the projected goals column this time. And this is what's kind of putting me off Haaland a little bit. Man City, 1.68 projected goals against Newcastle. That is way below what we typically see from Man City each given game week, which does literally mean that Haaland is going to be, most likely, because we're only dealing with probabilities here, less effective this game week. But 1.68 projected goals, if Man City are scoring 1.68 projected goals, then that probably means if they can score, between 1 and 2 goals, that probably means Haaland's scoring, because Haaland's goal share in the Man City team is so high. So we're probably looking at an 8 or 9 pointer for Haaland this week, even in a tough fixture. We kind of saw that against Arsenal earlier as well, which is quite reassuring. And some of these other teams who maybe have better goal scoring odds. So we've got Liverpool with higher projected goals, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Man United here as well. We got Crystal Palace a little bit lower at 1.52. So maybe that does put me off Mateta a little bit. But if we look at some of the teams above Man City, you look at these teams and you think, actually, is there one player who has that huge goal share for their team? And there's not really. Like Salah, Gakpo, Isak or Ekatike, depending on who's playing up front, or a random midfielder who often pops up and scores for Liverpool, whoever it might be on each given game week. It's so difficult to predict who will be the goal scorer for this Liverpool team. Similar thing with Arsenal, maybe. Is it going to be Saka? Is it going to be Marino or Gyökeres if he starts? Trossard on the left wing, one of the midfielders, Declan Rice. For Bournemouth, yes, Semenyo started the season really well, but in more recent game weeks, again, the goal share has been really split among different Bournemouth players. Chelsea, is it going to be Enzo? Well, probably not, because even though Enzo does everything, it's never Enzo. But is it going to be João Pedro? Is Delap going to come in and play at striker? Is it going to be one of the wingers if Neto's available? Garnacho, Esteval. Can you kind of get what I'm saying? Even Man United, Bruno, Cunha, and Burmo, who's it going to be? With Man City, yes, their projected goals are a little bit lower, but if they are scoring a goal, it's probably going to be Haaland. So if we're just looking to play it safe, Man City, Erling Haaland, he may not have the same ceiling as some of the other picks, but he certainly has the floor. And for that reason, I'm currently on a nice, safe, simple, and boring Haaland captaincy for this game week. We'll see if I live to regret that one. Guys, before we wrap up, I do quickly just want to show you, basically on the Fantasy Football Hub, my team tool. Of course, if you want to check this out, you can do, link in the description to do so. But I wanted to show you my Game Week 13 team because it is pretty weak. Obviously, Game Week 12 will look brilliant once Virgil is in. Hopefully, if Enzo and everyone else is going to be available. Game week 13, I'm not as convinced. So we kind of got Raya away against Chelsea, Sunderland away for Senesi, which is not ideal. Even Virgil away against West Ham. West Ham are scoring a couple of goals recently. So that's certainly not Liverpool's best fixture from a defensive perspective. I like the fixtures actually after that for Virgil. We'll have Richards against Man United. Man United do concede, but they also do score. Saka, Chelsea, Semenyo, Sunderland away for Saka as well, of course. Bruno away against Palace, Sarr and Mateta at home against Man United. I don't mind. But we've got Enzo at home against Arsenal, Haaland against Leeds at home, as well as maybe, Sarr and Mateta. These are really the only super strong fixtures. You could argue Virgil against West Ham as well. Chow away against Everton, not confident about that one. Alderete at home against Bournemouth, not confident about that one. So actually, Game Week 13, we kind of eyed this game week previously as a potential free hit week. I am still thinking kind of the same thing, to be totally honest. And I think if you look at this game week for my team compared to game week 12 looks a lot stronger to me. Game week 14 looks a lot stronger to me for this team. Game week 15 again, this team is going to be really strong. Obviously, Malik Chow is probably going to come in here instead of Senesi there, something like that. Of course, we'll be making a whole bunch of transfers by this point anyway, since we're going to get topped up to 5 free transfers in game week 16. So it, to me, makes sense. You have to use your free hit at some point. I guess you don't have to, but if you're picking a week, you may as well pick a week where your team maybe has some issues. And I think I don't have any Brentford players. I'd love to have Igor Thiago for game week 13. If I did have Thiago in my squad for his game against Burnley at home in 13, I think I'd be far more tempted to not free hit if I had Thiago, but I don't. And I think I'm maybe just missing a few other key players, like not enough Liverpool players. Could I go for Salah against West Ham? Could I go for maybe Szoboszlai as well? Could I go for more Man City players against Leeds at home? Doku or O'Reilly or, whoever else. Foden maybe if I want to take a risk. So I have already built a free hit team, but I am going to tweak it a little bit and share that with you guys on Sunday for what my initial free hit is going to look like for game week 13. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to free hit, but it's looking pretty likely. And yeah, we will share the thought process as we go through it. One more thing before we wrap up the video, guys. We are, of course, still collecting for the Movember campaign. We are up to £425 now. Our target was £500 to raise by the end of the month. So getting really close, guys. If you do feel like donating, I have left a link in the description for you to help support. And yeah, still growing this mustache. Cannot wait to shave it off, but it's all for a good cause, of course, for mental health charities and helping with prostate cancer as well, supporting those things, which is, I think, a very, very good cause indeed. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching once again. If you did enjoy, drop a like, do subscribe, check out another video right here if you would like to. 100 experts yesterday. Definitely recommend checking that out if you find yourself in a bit of an FPL pickle. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.